Good day and Karibuni to This and That, your readers podcast. My name is Ajuma, and with me I have my co-hosts.
I'm Maria Njoroge. I'm also a reader and a writer, and I look forward to walking this journey with you.
I am Achiki. Yeah.
Yes, we are here. We have been brought together by our love for reading and writing for some of us, and we will be sharing our journey with you guys.
Mostly it's going to be the way we experienced life in relation to what we've read, basically, yeah?
Yeah, and sometimes there are perspectives in our lives that have changed or that have been shaped by the kind of books we read. So there are different genres that we're going to be exploring, but I've always told my friends that the most read on subject in the entire universe is the subject of
Romance.
the subject of romance. People like love. People are
You
intrigued.
have to love love.
Who wouldn't? Who
Yeah,
wouldn't?
yeah.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
So the genres are many. So, but first of all, before you go to the genres, let us describe our reading culture. When did you start reading, and how has it changed? Have you evolved in any way? Have you gotten better? Do you read more now or less?
Why are you putting me on the spotlight?
Okay. To not put Achiki on the spotlight. Okay, I started reading. Okay, we all started reading at an early age.
True.
Of course, education, but reading for my own personal gain. This is going to be bad. I started reading, particularly
Fiction?
fiction. I started reading. It's a story. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell.
Just tell the story. We'll interject.
Okay. I'm just going to say it involves 50 Shades of Grey.
Wow.
Okay.
How
Okay,
old were
so
you?
I was in Form 3. It was in 2016, so
Were
I was
you-
15 years old.
You are
Whoa.
an adult.
Okay. So this book was lying around in the house, and
Not even in school.
in the house at home. Don't judge me. It was laying around in
I'm
the
not
house.
judging.
In the house at home. So my mom was reading this book. I hope she doesn't listen to this. And she would never want me to even interact with the book. So that one, it piqued my curiosity. The day I picked that book up when she was not around, oh my God.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Did you get orgasms from that?
No.
Okay.
Okay, no.
Okay.
So I never used to like reading
Did you even
novel.
understand what you were reading?
Okay, that's a very tutakutana nyuma ya tent. I will answer that.
Well, my story is less interesting because I didn't start with 50 Shades of Grey, but I basically started reading at a very young age, all the way from primary school, courtesy of my father. He's not exactly a scholar, but he believed that I should read, and when my siblings were getting toys, I would have really loved to get toys, but well, I got storybooks and vowels and mathematics
He
textbooks.
prepared you for the good life.
I would
What
just
do you mean
like
good
to
life?
say,
It's
I
a
would
good
just
life.
like to say a big thank you to Maria's father.
He enabled this podcast.
Yeah, you are the reason this podcast is here. Without you. So yeah.
So my story, I don't really have a story. I don't remember when I started reading, but there was a highlight of me reading novels in high school. I got suspended for it.
Oh, wow, okay.
I was reading this book. It's called The Last Man Standing. And then it was a Kiswahili period. And then the teacher came in. She was our class teacher then. So she found people discussing Kiswahili on the board, and I was reading a novel. So yeah, I never finished the book.
Speaking of high school. You remember 50 Shades of Grey was where I started reading big novels.
Okay.
I never thought, I used to look at people read big novels in high school. Then
What?
how are you reading 1,000 pages of a story? A story should end at 50 pages most. Then I read 50 Shades of Grey, then I understood. So if you told me that me and a friend of mine who was my namesake in high school would sneak into our deputy academics
Okay, we're definitely
office
tagging him in this video.
It is a she actually. We would sneak into her office and steal novels that
What?
she had confiscated from people.
How were you never caught?
Okay, we used to borrow books from her, not novels, but books like revision books as from fours at that time. So we would go in when watu wamejaa huko ndani wanaomba vitabu, then we'd look into the shelves. Then we would hide each other as one picks and the other. If you told me I would do that, I would never.
So your first experience resulted in you being naughty. So apart from the scholarly reading that I did when I was young, my highlight of a first novel is a very interesting story because I met a stranger in a vehicle. I was going to school. It was in 2015.
Sounds like some good old romance.
He was older than me, and he was reading a book. It was called 11 Minutes by Paulo Coelho. I'm sure if you've read his books, you know where I'm heading with this, and if you've read 11 Minutes. So the first sentence was, there was a woman, her name was Maria, she was a prostitute. I breathe in, I breathe out, and I'm like, what?
How can Maria be a prostitute?
I am informed too. I am in uniform. He's also in uniform, and we are seated at the back of the car. So I just tell him, I think you're just gonna have to sleep the rest of the way. I am going to read this until you arrive at Eldoret. And it was a very interesting book, but there is a backstory to this book because he went with it to school, but he slipped me a poem that he had written as we were walking.
Cute.
As we were walking. Cute.
What do you mean?
So he wrote me a poem, and it formed the first basis of the first poem I ever wrote that was romantic, because that is the first time I actually discovered that I can combine words and make them a poem that is not a composition. And that is how my writing journey began. So the day I discovered novels is the same day I discovered to write. How poetic.
We'd love that for you. So you can see that all of us are connected here we could tell stories for days. So we would like you to join us in this journey. It will be fun. It will be enjoyable. We look forward to you joining us.
Yeah. My favorite books to read are actually poetry, because I love people that explore sexuality, sensuality, and life in a crisp manner. Because poetry is very. If you've ever read poetry, you can have like 5 sentences, but they describe a whole deeper experience. And for those that have ever received a poem from a significant other, there is something about it.
Okay. When you say poetry and something deeper, I just think about how our English teachers would say, so what is the persona doing? And you'd have to crack your mind about something that wasn't even there.
When I was in Form 1, I really loved poetry. From the bottom of my heart, I swear. By the time I was in Form 4. It was so hard for me to love this thing that I really loved, because it had been turned into something else. But now I read poetry. I love reading poetry because it adds like to my I don't know if you'll get my point. I love reading poetry because when I read a poetry book, I finish it faster.
Oh.
It's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
So maybe in our next episode, I would write a poem for our audience that would draw you into listening and even writing poetry. So if I was to say, for example, a poem about our producer, let's say our producer is called Ryan. So I come up with like 5 lines. Hey Ryan, I want to know you. You intrigue me. You pique my curiosity and interest. Will you let me?
Could I just
Will you run?
You should see the look on his face. That's what I mean. It's very short, but it passes my message.
Personally, I'm not choosy about a genre I read, but I would definitely never read science fiction. Maybe I'm choosy, but I'd read drama. I read a lot. I read a lot of things. I read self-help. I read about finance, but science fiction, horror, that is where I draw the line. For me, reading helps me to develop ideas for writing because I write fiction too, and it's just entertainment, leisure, and it also feels good to be a reader because people respect you.
Okay, I have a question.
I respect you too.
Do you prefer a book when it's a book, or do you prefer when it's been made into a movie or a novella?
Well, books make you feel, the way the author describes things.
Yeah.
You almost like feel the things. But some movies, you're just seeing like, okay, it's happening
books,
for them.
Yeah,
not
books
me.
have a way of
Yeah,
making
yeah.
you think creatively. Like
You
if
put
I
yourself
say,
in the shoe of the characters.
if you're reading and I say, she entered into a dark house. See, I have a
I am
picture in
already in
my
the dark
mind.
house with her.
Yeah, you see, books have a way of making you feel creative and opening up your mind. So I prefer books.
And then I've also felt like movies and novellas don't do justice to books, because there is a whole series of After by the author Anna Todd. You should definitely read the book, because the movie, I find it very, very shallow, and I find that it only goes to like two characters who are Hardin and Tessa. Definitely read the book so that you would relate to what I'm saying. And the book has like 1,000 pages. How do you bring 1,000 pages to 1 hour? It does not make sense, because I want to feel their action. I want to feel it when Hardin says that whatever our hearts are made of, yours and mine are the same. If you put it in a movie, I just feel like you went and rehearsed those lines. And they're not even true anymore. But when I read it, I'm like, oh wow, okay. And then the good thing with the reading, your senses literally awaken from your hair to your ears.
Like
To
nothing
feel
else
everything.
matters. Nothing
Believe
else
me,
matters.
it's not the pages, it's the adventure. So we would like you to walk with us into
This adventure.
Adventureland. Let us take you to a city, a forest. Let's take you to the dungeon.
The books themselves.
Yes, I want you to experience reading and not just reading. And so something that I've asked before, have you gotten better, or do you read more or less now?
I read
I
more.
read more.
I think I read more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also read faster.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know you read fast.
I'd read a novel in a day.
E-books or hard paperbacks?
E-books.
Okay.
Because I can
Paperbacks.
go with my book everywhere, If I'm going to class and the lecturer hasn't come yet, so if I'm going to sit on the loo,
Yeah, the loo especially.
Yeah.
Am I the only writer that finds ideas in the bathroom?
No? Okay, if you're going to talk about writing, and the logic behind finding your ideas in the bathroom is that because you're in the bathroom, you're everything, nothing else. You don't have a lot to think about. Yeah, that is when you're creative.
I realized that when I was in first year, because I would go to the shower and I would come back with like 3 ideas.
But you have no time to write them down. By the time you're done,
You forget
about it.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
true. So there are things that I would remember like 3 years later. I came up with this idea in first year. Yeah, in the bathroom. That's the catch.
So yeah. In conclusion,
Where are we concluding?
okay, we could talk for days, but yeah, to find out more, to listen to our stories, how we started reading, what we are reading. Yeah, we will
How
be
we
sure.
felt about some
books. Yeah,
writing.
Yeah, join us on this adventure.
So yeah.
Sharon, our absent co-host, usually says that a book is an adventure waiting to happen. Yeah, this is our adventure and it is happening actually. So join us.